Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
Well, I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, you know? They were getting a little bit yippy, a little bit afraid.
World markets have bounced back after President Donald Trump announced a 90-day pause for countries hit by higher US tariffs. But a trade war with China has escalated. In a dramatic change of policy, just hours after levies against roughly 60 of America's trading partners kicked in, Trump said he was authorizing a universal lowered reciprocal tariff of 10% as negotiations continued. At the same time, he increased tariffs on goods from China to 125%, accusing Beijing of a lack of respect after it retaliated by saying it would impose tariffs of 84% on US imports.
Somebody had to do what we did, and I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate. And that's what I did with China, because they did retaliate. A deal's going to be made with China. A deal's going to be made with every one of them. And there'll be fair deals. I just want fair. There will be fair deals for everybody.
The Chinese Foreign Ministry says if the US is determined to fight, then China's response will continue to the end. A Russian-American citizen has been released in a prisoner swap between Moscow and Washington. Amateur ballerina Ksenia Karelina, a Los Angeles resident, had been in prison in Russia for over a year after being arrested in early 2024. She was found guilty of treason for donating money to a US-based charity providing humanitarian support to Ukraine and was sentenced to 12 years in a penal colony. In exchange, the US reportedly freed Arthur Petrov, a dual German-Russian citizen, arrested in Cyprus in 2023. Hundreds of rescue workers in the Dominican Republic are in the final last-gasp stages of searching for survivors of a roof collapse at a nightclub in the capital Santo Domingo. At least 124 people died and more than 150 were injured in the incident. Hundreds of guests were inside the popular venue, attending a concert by merengue singer Ruby Perez. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says at least 155 Chinese citizens are fighting for Russia in the war. His comments come after 2 Chinese fighters were captured earlier this week, marking Kyiv's first official allegation that China was supplying Russia with manpower. Speaking to journalists, Mr. Zelensky reiterated his claim that there are many more Chinese nationals engaged in the conflict, based upon information gathered by his government. The International Court of Justice is hearing a case brought by Sudan accusing the United Arab Emirates of being complicit in the genocide during the current civil war. The 2-year conflict, which has pitted Sudan's army against the paramilitary rapid support forces, has led to tens of thousands of deaths and forced more than 12 million from their homes. Sudan alleges that the UAE has been arming the RSF, wiping out the non-Arab Masalit population of West Darfur. Zimbabwe's government has announced an initial payout of $3 million to white farmers whose farms were seized under a controversial government program more than 2 decades ago. It is the first payment to be made under the 2020 compensation agreement signed between the state and local white farmers, in which Zimbabwe committed to pay $3.5 billion for seized farmland. LeBron James, one of the most iconic figures in modern sports, has made history once again, this time in the toy aisle. Mattel has announced the release of a new Barbie in Mr. James' likeness, making him the first professional male athlete to be honoured as a Ken doll. And Rory McIlroy's 4-year-old daughter delighted crowds by holding a 25-foot putt in the par 3 contest to steal the show on the eve of the Masters at Augusta National. But while Rory, Shane Lowry and patrons around the 9th green celebrated the putt, Poppy was less enamoured and just wanted a comforting hug from her dad.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.